Hi, I'm Tricia at Club Scrap, and this is the Paws and Claws Assembly Page Kit Workshop for the Cats collection. So we do have one for dogs, we have one for cats, and if you're tuning into this one and you have the Cats kit, you're in the right place. Well, I've got my trimmer, my kit, my accordion pocket file here and ready to go. And I think the best place to begin, as always, is to set aside the goodies that came in the collection, the ribbon, and usually in a classroom setting, I have the students keep all of that safe and tucked away in the bag the kit came in. And we're gonna sort the papers into the order that we'll be trimming them or using them. So I like to sort with the papers standing up like this in the crook of my arm. And the first sheet that I want you to find is this really adorable paw print. We're going to place that on our trimmer base, right side facing down. And then I want you to find the print that has this cute little food bowl here, the collar, the ball of yarn, and we're going to place that face down. Next, I'm going to find 2 sheets of the dark brown. Now there are 2 shades of brown in the collection. You want to look at the darker brown, and there's just 2 of them included. It has a linen texture on that, so at this point, I like to also put the texture side facing down so that later on when we flip the paper over, it'll be the right direction we need it for trimming, adhering, and so on. Next, find the 2 sheets of the green color. It's kind of like a eucalyptus or a cool green. This too has a felt finish on it, and that should be placed face down on your trimmer base. Then 1 sheet of the rust, 1 piece of the gold. And now reaching to the back of the sorted pile, I want you to find the sheet that has the strips of Cutaparts. Put that face down. And there should be 1 other sheet of Cutaparts that has a lot of smaller images on it. Put that face down as well. Next up, find the 2 pieces of the light brown. Now this too has the felt finish on it, and I'm going to grab both of those and put it texture side down. Next, find 2 sheets of the cream color. It's really a pretty cream color. And we're going to follow that with the remaining sheet of rust, the last paw print face down, the remaining sheet of gold, and the last cat print facing down. You'll notice that we intentionally left the cat image itself off of this print because everyone has a different cat breed and they'd be like, that doesn't look like anything like my cat. So we completely just left it off all of the artwork. Clever, I think. All right, let's get started with our trimming. I'll turn to page 1 in my instructions, looking at the very first diagram here. I'll take the paw print, and it doesn't really matter how it's placed on the trimmer since it's kind of an all over every direction print. And we'll start by trimming at 10. Now I've got the paper level here up at the top with the ridge on the trimmer base. I got the hole number 10 here, push down on the clear bar and give that a slice and slide down to 5.5. So to find 5.5, just as a review, make sure you had left from the 5 2 columns. So 1, 2. Stabilize each time, allow that paper to accumulate to the right of the blade so that I know where it is. Because if you move it, then I no longer know where it is. Take this larger piece out of the trimmer base and place that into pocket 1 and 2 of your accordion pocket file. And if you don't have something like that, it's okay. I'll help you make one later on, but don't let it stop you from completing today's pages. Simply maintain 4 piles, label them with a sticky note, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. And if you are using the accordion pocket file, make sure the paper is in there at an angle so you can still see the numbers on the left side of the pocket. Okay, then the center section of this paper is going to be filed in pockets 7 and 8. And the narrow strip also 7 and 8. Then grab the cat print here. We're going to make sure this cute little toy is on the right, the ball of yarn is on the left. And we'll trim at 8 3/4. So that's 8 plus 3 columns left. 1, 2, 3. And 5 1/4. Place this piece with the ball of yarn, pocket 5 and 6, and then pick up the strip. There is a slight amount of the ball of yarn on there, don't worry about that. We're just going to cut at 11 1/4. 7.5, 3 3/4. Now, if I'm going too fast, you can adjust the playback speed in your YouTube channel by clicking on the gear button, either in the lower right or upper right corner, depending on what app you're using. Choose playback speed and then choose 0.75. That will really slow me down until you become more familiar with this process. Now, you made 3 pieces that are the same. Take 2 of them, maybe the 2 that don't have the ball of yarn, and put them in 5 and 6. And this last shape, put it in 7 and 8. There will be a small scrap created. You can set that aside or dispose of it now. And then you have this final strip here with a little toy. Let's put that in pocket 5 and 6. Next, grab 1 sheet of the dark brown, so make sure you have 1 here and 1 on your trimmer base. I've got a nice easy cut for you at 6 inches. And then stack up the 2 sheets that are the same. We're gonna trim them simultaneously at 8 and 4. Gather those up. And if you have a trimmer that's not capable of trimming through 2 pieces of coverweight paper at the same time, consider this model. And if your trimmer just isn't performing, make sure you just work 1 sheet at a time so that you don't fray the paper. You may need to change the blade if that's happening as well. Okay, so let's file 2 of these 4x6s in pocket 1 and 2. Put 2 of them in pocket 3 and 4. And the last 2 in 5 and 6. Take your next sheet of the dark brown and we'll cut at 11, and that creates a 1-inch strip. So you take 12 minus 1 is 11. And then we'll go to 10 and 9, so lots of 1-inch strips here. Then 7 1/2 and 3 3/4. You just made 2 pieces that are the same size. We're gonna stack those and trim them together once again at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. You made 6 pieces that are the same size, and they're all going in pocket 3 and 4. Then we have the strips. Oh, we do have 2 little scraps too. You can get rid of those. Take the largest strip, put that in pocket 7 and 8. Take 1 of this remaining and put it in 5 and 6. And the last 2 go in pocket 3 and 4. We're already on to page 2 of our instructions. And I will grab the green 1 sheet and trim at 11 1/4, 10 1/2, and 6 1/4. We'll make a couple of photo mats here, so rotate the paper so it's horizontal and trim at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. The 2 pieces that you made that are the same, pocket 5 and 6. And then the rectangle that fell, we'll trim at 6 and 3. And that gives me 2 rectangles that are the same size for pockets 7 and 8. Plus a tiny little scrap. The next strip, trim at 6 1/4. Place this larger piece in pocket 5 and 6, and the smaller one that fell in 7 and 8. That leaves me with 2 narrow strips here. Those will both go in pocket 5 and 6. Grab the next sheet of the green. We're gonna make a really tiny strip here when we trim at 11 3/4, and then 6 1/4. And we're gonna repeat what we did in the first step of the previous sheet. So we'll rotate and cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. That gives us 2 more photo mats of that ideal size of 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. Place those in pocket 1 and 2. And then the rectangle that fell from the end, once again, we will trim at 6 and 3. And the only reason I do that cut at 6 and 3 is because if I wanted to just cut this in half and not have a scrap, I'd have to trim it at 3 1/8, and most people don't like eighths, so that's why I do this. This also goes in 7 and 8, and we have a little scrap. Take the remaining strip here, this larger strip, and cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. One of these pieces goes in pocket 1 and 2, and the other in 5 and 6. And we have this rectangle that fell from the end. We'll cut at 4 1/2 and 2 1/4. You made 2 rectangles. One of them goes in pocket 1 and 2, and the other in 5 and 6. This is a scrap, but we are going to use this really narrow strip in layout 3 and 4. Moving ahead to the rust. Let's trim this at 11 3/4, again creating a really narrow strip. And then 10 1/4, 6 1/4, then rotate that 6 1/4. We'll cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. You made 2 pieces the same for pocket 3 and 4. And then we're going to grab that rectangle, do something a little different this time. We're trimming at 6 and 3 3/4. The 2 pieces that you made that are a little larger, they go in pocket 1 and 2. And there is another little scrap that fell from the end. It's somewhere. I'll get it later. Okay, the rust here we're going to cut at 10 1/2. This is the 4 by 12 piece. And then 5 1/4. You made 2 pieces the same. One of them goes in 1 and 2, the other in 5 and 6. This tiny little rectangle that fell from the end, we are going to trim that. I found a home for it. So we're going to cut this at 3. And when you do that, I find it really helpful to just take my index finger, press down on the bar, bring it to 1 1/2. Same thing. So even though the paper is really small, this trimmer still allows those detailed cuts. Both of these little squares go in 5 and 6. And you've got a little scrap. Oh, here's the other one I couldn't find earlier. We have the large strip, or the wider strip, in 1 and 2. And then you have this teeny tiny little piece again for pocket 3 and 4. Moving on to the gold paper. We're going to cut this at just 6 1/4. We've done that number a lot today. And we're going to rotate and trim at 11 3/4, 8 1/2, and 4 1/4. You've got 2 pieces the same, going to pocket 1 and 2. And then we've got a little bit of a unique cut here. We'll trim at 5 1/2 and 2 3/4. You've made 2 rectangles that are the same. Those will be placed in pockets 7 and 8. And we did end up with a couple of little scraps again. My apologies. This next piece will trim, the final, at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4, resulting in 3 pieces the same size. 1, 2, 3. And they're all going to go in pockets 7 and 8, leaving us with a small scrap you can add to your tiny little pile of scraps. That's the final scrap of the day. Then we've arrived at our Cutaparts, and with this it's necessary for us to remove the paper from the outer edges so that we can start out with an accurate 12 by 12. There's a guide here in the corner, and it also has instructions. Remove paper outside of cutting guides. So when I make this first cut, I'm just going to get near that line, but probably not to it. Then I'm going to rotate, and now I can visibly see where that line is in relationship to the edge of my stainless steel blade of the trimmer. Rotate again, and now I can really see. So that first cut, the paper is a little too large to see where the blade is at the bottom, and that's why I just kind of cut shy of the line so I can clean it up later. This rotation I'll trim at 12, and then my final rotation as well. I can just take off that little hair. Look at, I can't believe this trimmer can do that. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. So those are can be trashed, and now we have our little ball of yarn and our leash here on the right. We'll trim at 10 3/4, 9 1/2, and you can always make sure you have the right measurement because you're going to be going between the artworks and not through them. Then 9, 8 1/2, 6, and 3 1/2. So this larger piece here that ended up in the trimmer, that goes in 7 and 8. And then I'm going to try to pick up all the rest of these pieces so I can just hand them out more easily. this piece goes in 3 and 4 with the heart. The one with the little mouse, also 3 and 4. You've got the 2 strips with the dots going in 5 and 6. Perfect, just the way you are. That's 7 and 8. And finally, that last strip with the ball of yarn, 1 and 2. We get to do all of that perimeter trimming one more time. So again, I'll place this in here and just shave off as close as I am comfortable. Rotate, and then I really line up the guides. Rotate again. And again. And then we have our final at 12 inches. Ooh, that's a really little shaving. Okay, I think we're set to go now for our final cut apart. So the paw prints should be on the right, and our first cut's at 11 1/4, 10 1/2, 9, 7 1/4, and 3 3/4. Now I'm going to rotate so that Live, Love, Purr is on the right, and we'll go at 10 and 5. Okay, the piece with the leash, 5 and 6, and then the brown with the yarn, 1 and 2. Live, Love, Purr, 3 and 4. I'm just ignoring how cute all these quotes are right now so we can keep her moving. But they're adorable, you have to admit. Tell your cat I said psst, psst, psst. That should be on the right. 8 3/4 and 5 1/2. Grab scissors, and I'm just going to separate these elements for now. You could take a second, pause me, and then fussy cut around the glow line on each image. The bowl of food, 3 and 4. The cute little mouse, 1 and 2. And the ball of yarn, 7 and 8. Here we have, cats have 32 muscles in each ear to help them ignore you. 7 and 8, and then tell your cat I said pss, pss, pss. That's 1 and 2. Okay, just a few more slices. Make sure the word perfect is on your right. We'll cut at 9 1/2, 7, and 4 1/2. Just rectangle journaling prompt, 7 and 8. We have one more smaller journaling prompt, 1 and 2. Fluffy, 1 and 2. And perfect, 3 and 4. This next strip, the word regal should be on your right. Cut at 10, 8, and 6. Okay, here kitty kitty, that's 5 and 6. And then you've got a small journaling prompt also for 5 and 6. Oh gosh, and then regal and crafty, 5 and 6 also. And then you've got your paw print border strips going in 3 and 4. That, my friends, was your last cut. Hip hip hooray, good for you, you did it. And I'm going to then hold the accordion pocket file, lock my trimmer blade, support the file while I remove the trimmer, set that aside. And now I'm going to make sure that this always lays on its back so that I don't risk it falling off the table. The trimmer is what's designed to hold this up. And once it's full, you kind of want to rest it on its back if it's not going to be under the trimmer. Grab the pile of remaining 12 by 12s and just put the entire stack to the left of the center of your work surface and slide the top sheet to the right. That is going to give you the base of layouts 7 and 8, because we are going to assemble this from like the back to the front, from the layout 8 to layout 1, and we're not going to be adding any adhesive at this point. Once all of the pieces have been dry fit to their permanent home, you can sit down, grab your adhesive, put a movie on, and assemble the pages, and you'll have all the answers when you go ahead to do that. And you don't need me to help you with your glue or your tape or your adhesive or whatever. I'll just kind of give you some pointers, and you can, consult the image or the video again as needed. I'm going to empty everything from pockets 7 and 8, and I do like to distribute the pieces to the layout from my hand instead of trying to pick up each piece off the tabletop. It just seems to be a little more efficient, and I'm all about efficiency. Okay, Let's take this larger piece of the paw print and place it flush with the bottom edge of the right side, and then the smaller piece with the left edge of the left page. Now just above this strip, we're going to add a dark brown border and nest it with the title, Perfect Just the Way You Are. Then we also have a wide strip here. Just leave like 1/4 of an inch between the print and the paper so you can see the color. Then you should have a set of 3 of these gold photo mats, and check out how they fit right in there to perfection. We do have this larger remaining green and then 2 smaller green. I'm going to place those smaller ones vertically up here and then add the journaling prompt here. This happens to nest, and you could do the white side too. This happens to nest with our little funny quote. Then you have 2 vertical mats right here. And then the gold will nest on top of this. And your cute little ball of yarn, once you fussy cut, will be placed right here. And I advise you to do that with some foam adhesive to give it a little bit of extra dimension. For embellishing, I'm going to take this adorable little kitty paper clip. And when I add it, I can add with the large clip in the front or in the back, totally up to you. It's gonna go up into this a little bit. I think that's okay. I kind of like that. It's a little contrast. On the left side of the page, we do have these cute little cat tags. I'm gonna put one right here, add a little ribbon to the top, and then there's plenty of space for this gigantic paw woodcut here in the left corner. I do see I added the adorable little paw print charm here. Topped it with some of the jute ribbon included in your box. Here's that adorable clip attached with foam adhesive. Those are the basics for layout 8. Then on the facing page, we've got our wide ivory checked ribbon threaded through the hole in the top of the tag. This is overlapping the tag a little bit too, kind of like that. And you could color this, you could stain it, you could paint it, you could put embossing powder on it, ink it, or just leave it just as it is. Very sweet. Okay, so that is layout 7 and 8. Now to move forward, I'm going to pick up the base of layout 7 and slide it onto 8. And then pick up one more sheet of paper and slide it to the right. That gives me the base for layouts 5 and 6. I'll empty everything from that pocket or grab that pile, and I'm going to try to get this into my hands. A lot of pieces here. That's okay. And if you would rather work from your tabletop, that's fine. I'm just giving you tips to speed things along or make it a little bit easier. And as I've been talking, I'm adding the print to the upper left and lower right edges. I see here I've misplaced the rust strip I needed into packet 3 and 4. So depending on what we did, or you did, this should be right here. And then we're going to top that with this green, which is nested with the dots. Now over here on this side, I'm going to add the dark brown, the green, and the dots. Lots of color here. We're able to incorporate. Okay, so with our green mats, I'm going to take 2 of them and put them horizontally here and nest them with the dark brown. Now, if the dark brown doesn't fit, you got the wrong pieces. Then we've got the 2 prints. We're going to place those vertically right here, and then we'll add the remaining largest green on that side. We've got our here kitty kitty, and then I just thought it was a good spot to put the square and the little matching size journaling prompt and the other square. Now you still have this guy left over, this slightly shorter green, followed by the rust and the sweet little quote. And I've added the regal and the crafty. They both fit next to each other on the green. Take one of the remaining craft tags. That's going to go right here. And now we'll take a look at how the layout all came together. So here is page 6. We've got the same type of thing going on with the little ribbon added to the top of this tag. And then I took my slot punch, that would be this guy, and I punched a slot after these were all nested, and I just threaded ribbon from the underside through and then around to the back and secured it. So that's just a sweet little addition. Both this item and the cut apart up here were attached with foam adhesive circles to give it a little bit of a dimensional boost. And then on the facing page, I attached these two pieces with foam as well. And then here added this with foam too, after topping it with some of the jute. I call that luggage tag style attachment of ribbon. And then I used some bookbinding glue to nail down the knot of the jute so that it doesn't move around. It kind of looks like it could, but it can't. Okay, so that is pages 5 and 6. Now I'm going to pick up the ivory here, or cream colored paper, slide it on over, and then I'll add the rust slide. I have to turn back in my instructions now to page 3, and I will grab the stuff out of pocket number 3 and 4. Let's see. Make sure you get it all. Sometimes it's confusing if you don't. All right, I'm gonna grab the longer, narrow piece page title here. Home is where the meow is. That's so cute. And then we've got a narrow strip of the green, followed by one dark brown strip. In classes, I find that the little strips are the hardest for people to see in the picture printed in the instructions. So walking through this can be really helpful. We do have a series of 6 brown mats. Now they're not quite square, so make sure when you add them, a row at the top and a row at the bottom, that they are positioned horizontally. And then we're going to fill in the rest of that open space with this large strip that has the journaling prompt here, a narrow brown strip with the nested paw print. The word perfect will go here, and I'm going to clip one of the gold kitty paper clips to it. And then after trimming out the bowl along the shadow line here, add it right here. Then on the left, we're going to have 2 nested photo mats. So when you have nested mats at an angle, here's what I want you to avoid. This will go here. Do not add them like this where those corners, those bottom corners are touching. Okay, even if it's like this, don't do that. Okay, that right there is called a tangent, and designers tend to cringe when they see one of those. So if you don't care, I mean, go ahead and do what you want. But if you want it to look pleasing, aesthetically pleasing, overlap the photo mat slightly and make one of them higher than the other. And that way you'll avoid all of those possible tangents. A tangent also occurs if this corner of the mat would be in contact with the edge of the paper. Here and here, that's 2 tangents. Keep it away from the edge as well. Just a little design tip. Looking at the finished page. Oh, I know I did add the other paw, and I added the other tag. I tucked it here, and I added the final clip to the top of this. So sweet. Okay, so reviewing the final touches. Attached with foam adhesive here, the clip, this too, is added with foam adhesive. I used quite a bit of foam adhesive, I guess. On this, very simple, added some of the ribbon that has the gold running through it, the brown grosgrain with metallic gold, and adding the clip, a very sweet and easy finishing touch there. So I'm going to pick up the base of page 3 and slide it over onto 4, and then bring this on over. We get to empty pocket 1 and 2. How easy was this? Okay. This large paw print will go on the right edge flush. And then to get our spacing right, we're going to place this at the bottom, these 2 horizontal green mats, so that we can determine where this piece goes to frame it out. So I'm creating a little box, little rectangle around these 2 photo mats, and you can nest the rust strip with the cut apart. Now this piece, and there should be a green one in here somewhere. Maybe we can get to it in a minute. Let's, for now, move on to the gold photo mats right here. And we're going to nest these with dark brown. Okay, here it is. And then we've got two cute little sentiments. We got Fluffy, and then we have the journaling prompt. And we did the same thing. We got the green and the rust and the large sentiment all nest together and can be placed over here. And then we've got a nest for tell your cat. I said psst, psst, psst. This goes right there. Fussy cut this guy and place him with foam adhesive here. Those are all the elements for pages 1 and 2. Let's check out our finishing touches. Now, I have to tell you what happened here. The smaller pieces of Cutaparts, I designed them to fit on top of the cat tag, but when all was said and done, I didn't like how it looked. So I kind of modified how I did everything. And then meanwhile, we have, so the dog kit and the cat kit are very similar. And I designed Cutaparts to fit on top of some different shaped tags in the dog kit. I know, like more than you wanted to know. At any rate, I still nested the Cutapart on top of the spot where I have the tags nesting in the dog's kit to keep the kits as similar as possible. And I just made up for the gap in the space by wrapping the bottom edge of these 2 pieces of paper with the jute. And I think it turned out really sweet, so I like it. And I had a lot of this really pretty gold ribbon left, and I did a 3-part bow on that. So I love how that turned out. And I'll quick show you. I used the smallest radius on the Club Scraps 3-in-1 corner punch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and rounded the corners. And I think that just kind of softens it a little bit. Really sweet. I love this punch. It's just so easy to use. So ergonomically friendly. So that was the detail from that page. And I think this one's just a one and done, you know, like literally slap it down. This I added with foam adhesive. That's the only thing I did outside of just adhering the photo mats. Very, very easy assembly. I think you're going to love it. I think your cat's going to love it, to be honest, because it's going to be all about the cat, right? Anything that, you know, is about the cat is, the cat's in favor of that. So I think I'm going to give these pages to my daughter, Emily. She just got 2 of her very own cats. She is so happy to have them and loves them so very much. I know she's going to adore these pages, and I hope you do as well. Now, if you happen to have a dog, we have a kit for the dogs as well. I did mention it earlier. So grab the Paws and Claws Dogs Kit, and I've got my very own video for that as well. And you'll be very happy to know that we do have a sheet of rubber stamps designed just for the Paws and Claws collection. We have images that pertain to both cats and dogs, but no images of dogs or cats, so that it's not breed specific. You can use it for whatever you want. And you'll be pleased to know that there are some really lovely sympathy sentiments on the stamp sheet, because sometimes when our friends lose their pets, we want to send a sympathy card because it's one of the most painful experiences you can go through, right? Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me today. One last request: if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give me a like or a comment on this post. I always love to hear from you. And if you're not a member of Club Scrap, why not? If you are, you save $8 on your kits and these special edition kits. You get member discounts, and you don't have to commit to any length of time for your membership. You can quit at any time. It's simply our goal to always make you happy. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me for this class. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.